offender in custody. Thanks. If anyone else follows my custody arrest, let me know. First standby.
First at 11, a News 13 exclusive. The family of a man who drowned in 2021 is speaking only to News 13 after the Horry County Coroner's Office says it now has new evidence related to his death. Thank you for joining us at 11. I'm Edward Moody.
And I'm Trish Williford. We've learned this case also has ties to Myrtle Beach pastor John Paul Miller, who's gained national attention since his wife's suicide last April.
News 13's Adriana Lawrence has followed this story closely. She joins us in the studio and tells us why the family is speaking out more than 3 years later and what led officials to take a second look. Adriana.
Well, Trish, Edward, at the time, the coroner's office ruled 40-year-old Chris Skinner's death as an accident. The family says they never questioned what investigators found. The recent events in the last year have made not only the family raise questions, but outsiders as well.
When the police were doing their investigations on the scene, they were told certain things. And now there's been acknowledgement that some of those things are inaccurate.
Chris Skinner, an Army veteran, was paralyzed from the neck down after a car crash when he was just 20 years old. He soon after became a motivational speaker and author. But in the morning of September 6, 2021, police reports state Skinner went to the community pool to meet someone for a game of chess. While strapped in his wheelchair, surveillance video shows he fell into the pool and was there for about 40 minutes before first responders pulled him out. The police report goes on to say the video shows him trying to pull his head up. It goes on to say Chris's wife, Susie Skinner, tried to produce a do not resuscitate form, but the form was not filled out, so Chris was taken to the hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Dashcam video News 13 obtained shows who Chris's family says is John Paul Miller and his late wife Micah with Susie at the scene. According to a recent testimony in court, Susie says she's known John Paul since 2019 and is now his girlfriend. John Paul is also being investigated by the FBI. Chris's sister, Tamara McDermott, tells us Chris attended church at Solid Rock Church, where John Paul was the pastor, and didn't have positive feelings towards him.
About 4 to 5 months prior to his passing, he did talk a lot about the pastor of that church. He did stop going to church there. He would talk openly to, me, my family, close friends of his, and others about why he was distancing himself from the church.
McDermott couldn't say why Chris had those feelings, but a 2024 affidavit filed by John Paul's ex-wife, Allison Williams, states John Paul began a sexual relationship with another woman whose husband later drowned. It goes on to say the woman's husband confronted John Paul 2 weeks prior to his drowning. McDermott says Chris's funeral was held at John Paul's church, Solid Rock. She adds, following Micah's death, many people began to question what really happened to Chris.
And that caused, frequent speculation all over media sources, social media sources, and that caused just people to put a lot of phone calls into the Myrtle Beach Police, the coroner, on a regular reoccurring basis.
What people began to question was what McDermott calls inconsistent information. In police reports News 13 obtained, it states his wheelchair was seen moving towards the pool and falls in. But the coroner's report states Chris appears to have gotten too close to the pool edge, causing the wheel to slip and then fall in. The coroner's report also states an autopsy wasn't done, statements were not taken, and nothing was filed under witnesses or from the death scene.
Of course, if the coroner has made a decision to reopen investigation, and of course her release statement, I believe that there is means to say that it was going to be potentially something other than an accident.
So that's something that's being looked into, an alternative than an accident, at least being looked into.
Yes, correct.
Now, we've reached out to the coroner's office to ask why a few items were not filed and if this is typical for accidental drowning cases. Count on News 13 as we work to learn more.
And Adriana, what are the next steps in this case?
Well, all the family has said right now is that the coroner's office and Myrtle Beach Police are both looking into this case and are not sure of the timeline just yet.
by.